Hello everyone, this is the psychic prediction video for the full year of 2023. So, get ready for massive changes because 2023 seems to have a lot of change. When I tune into World War III and things of that nature, I don't particularly see that happening. So it's not the end of the world, but there could be a lot of big changes going on, especially in Europe. I'm seeing a lot of problems in Europe, just kind of general chaos. It also seems to not be a good year for Joe Biden in general, although I do see a good amount of support for him regardless. I get that there's going to be a lot of breakdown of the international power structure for the year of 2023. And a lot of this is actually going to be about shifting the world into kind of a more positive future, even though it's going to be a rough year of changes. So to start off the reading, when I tuned into it, the color that I got was green, just to kind of set the tone. Green generally represents growth and things of that nature, springtime, you know. So the symbol, when I asked to see a symbol to represent the year, I might have said month, I meant year. I'm used to doing monthly readings, but anyways, the year, the symbol was a twisted vine that was growing up, and it represented fast change as well as rapid growth. And I was getting that this year is going to have quick advancements and changes in the social structure, and this is going to be more on like a cultural level, and this will be lasting until 2026 as far as this massive shift goes. And of course, I don't mean the changes will end and no longer exist. I just mean that the speed at which society is changing will kind of reach its peak and slow down after 2026 or so. So the first half of the year seems horrible, to be honest. It doesn't seem like a good first half of the year. There seems to be a lot of chaos, just general chaos, and the power structures of the world are just unraveling, and this is the beginning of a process of change that I was kind of mentioning that's going to last until around 2026. So you think that things have been changing rapidly already. Well, I'm seeing 2023 being the year where things really hit the fan. So I was seeing a lot of protesting going on around the world and people demanding change, and this demand being met by the authorities. So it seems like things are changing. Most of the problems that I saw around the world are in Europe, and it's a little confusing exactly what this is, but it seemed like there could be some sort of leak, like something's leaking out. This could be around oil, something of that nature. It could also be like something about like germs potentially was showing up. But what I can say for sure, because the way that I get information is symbolic, and so it's kind of hard to interpret and understand exactly what's going on. But what I can say is that it was causing chaos and civil unrest, and this seems like very bad times for Europe around March through April of 2023. So around that time period, there seems to be some like negative events going on in Europe, and specifically where this is located is to the north of Ukraine, around the North Sea in particular, and like maybe like UK and like the countries that are to the south of the North Sea. Sorry, I'm not that great at geography, but that general area. Now, in the past, I made a prediction about, well, before there was even like a war going on with Ukraine, I predicted there was going to be some sort of explosion thing near, or to the south of Sweden. And then we saw the Nord Stream pipeline explosion go off, and I assumed that that was probably the end of that. So there is a possibility that this could be a continuation of what I was seeing in the past with that explosion and that kind of chaos going on there, but I'm not really sure, so I just want to address that because I know people are going to ask me about it, and so the answer is I don't really know. But regardless, it does seem that there will be some sort of just kind of chaos around that area in general. There's also a possibility of it escalating to the point where there are boots on the ground, and by boots I mean like military personnel. In reaction to this, I was seeing Biden being very unhappy, and him like putting his hand over his face, like a face palm, just like covering his face because it's just not what he wants to see. And the reason for that is because this involves the international power structure that the U.S. Is involved with geopolitically, and I'm seeing, especially in the second half of the year, the U.S. global dominance of the planet, like politically, kind of just starts to erode. So the second half of the year, I'm seeing things like BRICS becoming more of a thing as far as global power. And so if you don't know what BRICS is, BRICS stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And there's some other countries trying to join it too, but it's basically like a just an organization where they work together, basically. So I also did a reading on the Prince of Saudi Arabia recently that has a lot to do with the changing economic structure of the world and how he is kind of taking advantage of this. So I'll post that link below this video if you want to check that out too. It's pretty interesting because he's kind of part of the international structure working with the United States, but he seems to be kind of jumping boats, and he may actually be joining BRICS, and it seems like he's changing. I'm not going to go over all of it, but you can watch the video if you want. I'll post that below this video in the description. So anyways, for 2023, I see, even though it's a bad year for Joe Biden, I see Joe Biden having a lot of followers or supporters globally, and this seems to be specifically more around Europe. And I'm seeing a picture of Biden clapping his hands, like clapping them on for what they're doing, and there seems to be some sort of attempt to unify Western powers through social movements. So it's as if social movements are, how the politics are getting power, basically, through those. And I saw a banner that these people were holding up as they were marching through the streets, and it said corporate conglomerate. And so what that means is basically like the unification of corporate forces. And so I thought that was an interesting thing to have in there. So I don't know exactly what that means, but I'm just going to leave it there for whatever it is. Sometimes it's best if I try not to interpret all these messages and just leave it open-ended. So again, 2023 as a whole seems like a bad year for Joe Biden, but I do see him adapting to things. And again, what was happening for him with people supporting him, it doesn't seem to work out more towards the end of the year, and things seem to change. However, Joe Biden seems to be able to adapt to this, and it's almost as if he is part of a system that has a certain plan, but he doesn't really necessarily care for it, and he's able to adjust. And so I saw him adapting to the kind of like global update, if you want to call it that, and kind of like the energies shifting on the planet, and him not being completely destroyed by it, even though it's bad for his political career on some level. But he's able to adjust, is what I'm trying to say. So anyways, the US seems kind of like not too much going on. I wasn't picking on too much going on for the United States, but there seemed to be some sort of news about the Mexico border with the US, and like immigrants crossing over, and that becoming more of an issue in the news for the US. So seems kind of boring overall. But it seems like most of the news is focused on Europe in 2023 and all that chaos that I was talking about earlier. So I will there is some stuff that came through about Joe Biden and kind of like the geopolitical outlook, but it's a little controversial, and so I'm gonna post that on my Patreon page instead of posting it here. So you can always join that. It's only $5 a month to join and see all my other YouTube videos that I won't post on YouTube. I've actually had some YouTube videos taken down for weird reasons that don't make sense to me, so I'm just being extra careful now. By the way, if you've watched to this point and you like this video, I always appreciate a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe for monthly prediction videos where I do psychic predictions for the coming month in advance. So anyways, 2023, I was seeing this vision of a wizard, actually, and it was like a wizard with a crystal ball that was like able to grant wishes. And I was getting that this is kind of like, or sorry, not now, but starting 2023 is like kind of like the fertile grounds for creating these wishes that will be granted in 2024 through 2025 is what I was getting. And I'm also getting that the state of humanity is getting better in 2024 and 2025, and about halfway through the year things really shift, and it's like we're shifting into like a different timeline, a different future outlook, you could say. But 2023 is really the process where things start to change. So again, these wishes that we may have not even realized were possible, we start to kind of realize our potential possibilities. So there's a lot of excitement in the air for 2023, and sometimes on an energetic spiritual level things can happen before they happen physically, and so even though those aren't happening till the second half of the year, there's still just a lot of excitement in the air energetically going into just the first part of 2023. So the next vision I saw was actually a triangle-shaped craft flying through the air, and this was sending the message across to me that there's technology that's going to be shown that basically like fast jumps in technology, and I've been seeing that a lot for the past like year or two, and it really corresponds with the year 2025 and 2026, like how we're shifting into that. And I said this like, I don't know, 2020, I think, that I was saying that there's going to be massive changes and how the monetary system is going to change. And like now we're starting to see like lots of talk about money issues changing. And so I think there's going to be changes leading up until 2026 with changes in global money and technology and just the whole power structure at large. So, on the more positive side, I will say that people in general and society at large and just the culture, the overall culture of humanity is becoming more open-minded, and people are really opening their eyes to more of the metaphysical side of things. So like things like this channel, for example, may become more socially acceptable to watch, and I've been opening up more and found it much easier to talk about what I do, because usually I just kind of keep it secret from most people, to be honest. But anyways, things like energy work, and things that people may have even dismissed or laughed at 3 years ago even, are becoming more and more open topics to talk about, and I'm seeing that definitely really continuing into 2023. And there being massive shifts for people regarding that sort of subject matter in particular. So people are really tuning into something bigger than themselves. And I was getting that people are leaving the past behind, forming new identities. That's a big deal. Dropping old arguments or old narratives or ideologies or whatever people may be arguing about, and opening up to a whole new way of thinking. So that seems to be what 2023 is really all about, but it's also kind of intense and abrasive, and so it is chaotic as well. The second half of the year, I saw it represented as a sun, and it was like a sunny new day and a new direction for humanity. And things may become more crystal clear. Despite the chaos going on, it seems like there's a new direction and there's more clarity, and people have more just clarity to be able to see the path moving forward, and a new system forming to take the place of the old, which will people will look back and be like, oh wow, those were like the old days, like when things were like that, you know. And so I'm getting that this has to do with a more positive direction for the whole planet and humanity, and some of the negative things that have been happening on the planet are actually necessary in order to pull us off of this timeline that was just kind of heading to worse disaster, just not going anywhere good for humanity. And it's kind of causing a disruption to kind of awaken people. Sometimes awakening has to be a rude awakening. Sometimes that's sometimes necessary. You know, you're not always going to wake up naturally. Sometimes you need an alarm clock, or maybe you might even need someone to dump some water on your head to wake you up in the morning. I don't know. Anyways, my point is that there's a lot of very sad, dark things that have happened in the past couple of years, but what I'm getting is that this is sort of necessary in order to change the timeline. So we are shifting timelines halfway through 2023. So one of those things that are unfortunate that we need to talk about here is Ukraine. So I'll talk about Ukraine. So what I'm picking up for 2023 for Ukraine and the war going on with Russia is I'm seeing Russia losing some land that they've taken to the more in the northern area of Ukraine, but I do see them holding on to the majority of the land that they still have right now. I'm filming this December 11th of 2022. Speaking of 2023, of course. So in the short term, I do see Russia losing their grip over Ukraine during 2023, but in the long term, I actually see them holding on. So it's like they're kind of weakening their grip a little bit, but they're still holding on. They're not losing their grip. And it looks like in 2024 they kind of come back more. And so I'm seeing further out that Ukraine looks destabilized, and it looks like this is kind of what Putin wanted on some level. He seems pleased about it, but also I get the sense that it comes at a bigger expense than he thought. I don't see like Russia winning the war. I don't see Ukraine winning the war either. I definitely don't see Ukraine winning the war and like having everything back that they wanted at all. Quite the opposite. But Russia doesn't, it's hard to say it if Russia was to win. I wouldn't call it winning either. I would call it no one really wins, but Russia seems to take some land and have the upper hand on Ukraine, I guess you could say. And so I'm getting that Ukraine is most likely to be basically a wasteland by 2027. And that this will cause Putin to feel less threatened. So on some level, he's getting what he wants because he feels less threatened by the closeness of the European network of powers that were getting close to his country, and he didn't like that. So I also get the sense that in 2023, Russia will be forming stronger connections with countries to the south of Ukraine. And I said that before they started working more with Turkey. And so, I mean, I predicted that in the past, but what I'm saying is that I continue to see that continuing more, progressing further into 2023. So, what is 2023 good for? As a person. In general, energetically, that is. It's generally a good month. I always do monthly predictions. If you want to see my monthly predictions, subscribe to my channel and you can check those out. Anyways, for the year of 2023, it's good for thinking of wishes. Again, that wizard comes to mind. Thinking of the wishes, even if it doesn't seem realistic, because things are shifting and doors are opening. And so it's a really good time energetically to pursue your personal interests in particular, because of the fast growth and the fast changes. And again, the symbol representing the year was a vine and the color was green. So that kind of says it right there. So don't miss out on the swift growth and changes. So what is the year bad for? It's bad for identifying too much with people or groups of people in your life. So try not to identify too much with them. I was also seeing the heart chakra a lot for the year of 2023, and I was getting that having your heart chakra too open is actually not the best thing to be doing during this year with so many sudden shifts and chaos. Specifically because the heart chakra can be associated with identity and what you identify with, and so belonging to a cause or a person is actually kind of dangerous this year, is what I'm getting. And I was getting that it's important to really stay centered within yourself. And so your heart chakra, you don't want it like leaning too far one direction or the other. You just want it centered within yourself. And it's like the heartstrings, metaphorically, can be pulled and like pull you off balance. You just want to avoid that. And also there's a lot of the ideological narratives and like virtue signaling, which some people don't know what that means, but that just means people who act virtuous or act like they're doing good things, and just kind of signaling that you're doing that. So that's something that can be used against you to kind of control you and like pull your heartstrings in the wrong direction. So watch out for that. However, by the end of the year, especially like starting halfway through the year, things start to become much more clear, and then you'll kind of be able to see through any of the deception that you may have been pulled into. So the advice for the year: stop listening to the information coming from the outside of yourself. Make something happen from your inner self, and eventually share this with the world. This is a time to be you. It's also a great time to set the trend instead of following it, because this is the time of growth and, be your true self. So that is the psychic prediction and energy forecast for the year of 2023. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Always appreciate comments below, and I will leave the link to my Patreon page if you would like to join. Only $5 to join. You can also get Bitcoin crypto predictions for $10 a month if you would like that as well. I do private readings also, so I will post my private website address that you can find me on. Besides for that, subscribe if you haven't yet. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.